Today, we know it as the south of France. From the 9th century to the 13th centuries, this land was known as Occitania. Occitania stretched from the Atlantic Ocean to the Alps, and from the city of Limoges in the north to the Pyrenees and the Mediterranean Sea in the south. The cities of Bordeaux, Toulouse, and Marseille were within its borders. Occitania was never an independent kingdom. Rather, this region was united by a common culture and a common language, the language of Occitan. Occitan is a Romance language, more similar to Catalan than to modern-day French. Occitan was the language of the Troubadours, the first lyric poets in the Western world. In the year 1209, northern French warlords joined forces with the Catholic Church to plunder the wealth and destroy the culture of Occitania. They succeeded. Even so, even today, we can still hear echoes of Occitan culture and echoes of the Troubadours.
I'm Rai Donere, and I'm a medievalist. Today, we're on the trail of the Troubadours. Off we go. We are at the Châteaux de Lastours, the 4 towers of Lastours. Actually, originally in the Albigensian Crusade days, there were only 3. One was built after the Crusade ended. But this one is the most important. This is the Castel de Cabaret, and its lord was Peire Roger de Cabaret, who was a great warrior during the Albigensian Crusade. His wife, L'aube de Pernotier, was a beauty, and several of the troubadours came to pay homage to her, to sing her songs. One of them, the most interesting story, is of Peire Vidal. Peire Vidal was known for his antics, his tricks, and he was in love with L'aube, but he wasn't really making any impression on her. So what he decided to do was, since she was L'aube, she was the feminine wolf, he decided to dress up as the masculine wolf. So he clothed himself in all these furs and looking very wolf-like, and started to make his way up the mountain towards L'aube. Well, the problem was that he smelled so bad that all the dogs and all the local peasants came and thought this was a real game, so they started beating him up. And he had to climb as fast as he possibly could up here and got in. He was tattered, he was bleeding. He's brought before L'aube, and instead of being her valiant knight come to claim her, she's the one who's got to take care of him. The Troubadours started off with Guilhem de Peitieus, who was the Duke of Poitou, and he was Eleanor of Aquitaine's grandfather. He had gone on a crusade to the Holy Land, and he brought back Arabic musicians. So you have this whole Arabic influence coming in from the Crusades, as well as rising up over the Pyrenees. The troubadour was not just a singer, he was a composer, and he was also a philosopher and a poet. He was not obliged to sing. He was not obliged to sing for his supper. This is not some kind of wandering minstrel going off in the land, but he would be invited to the castle to spend however much time there and to practice his craft or his art. Their work is the first expression of lyric poetry in the Western world, in the vernacular. Did the troubadour ever win the favors of the lady? Yes, apparently in some cases I think he did. That's because the husband was possibly off fighting battles. Don't forget, you have this contractual marriage, so the husband and wife might like each other, but they're certainly not in love with each other. So the husband's doing his thing, and the lady, surreptitiously, is possibly doing her thing. And who more than a valiant troubadour who's coming to entertain the whole court? Of course, part of it was lusting after the ladies. Of course, some of the troubadours lusted after the ladies. It was not overt. It was there would be allusions to it. The only person who was really overt was Guilhem de Peitieus when he says, I just can't wait to get my hands underneath her cloak. That's overt. But most of the later troubadours, he was the first troubadour, don't forget, but most of the later troubadours, it became more and more hidden. But the majority of it, really the whole concept behind this Fin'Amor, this refined, this pure love, was to purify yourself through love of another. Well, Fin'Amor, it's more than sexuality, it's going beyond. You have to have love, okay? And love, yes, obviously, it's physical love is part of love, but also it's that transcendence to make yourself more perfect. It really is. It's the perfection of the troubadour, the perfection of the man, but the perfection of the woman, to transcend to a higher spiritual and moral level. Think about courtly love, basically. You have these very stereotype male and a very stereotype female. It's not this unifying principle that you have with Fin'Amor. It just degenerates out into something else entirely. Some people think it's a continuation of a Fin'Amor, but it's really not. It's taking Fin'Amor and almost making a cartoon out of it. This book, The Art of Courtly Love, was it a parody? No, I don't think so. I think he was trying to actually write down some of what you're supposed to do. But here you've got this complete crossroads between Fin'Amor and between courtly love. Courtly love, you must grow pale when your lover appears. You must do this, you must do that. All this codification. No, that wasn't Fin'Amor. Fin'Amor is felt from the heart. Courtly love is felt from the head, and there's a damn big difference between those two. Loving someone else heals you, and it's only through loving someone else that you can really open up yourself and understand what loving God means, loving the divine. How can you love God if you can't love other people? How can you love God if you can't see her in everybody's eyes? The whole impetus of Fin'Amor is this transcendence, is this perfecting yourself to become a better person. And it was through loving someone, and it was only through loving someone that you could become a better person. You let your ego go. You put the other person before yourself. And that's how you transcend. Oh, I think the spiritual practice of the Cathars was love, that everything for them was love. People talk about the Cathars having a good God who was immaterial and a bad God who was material. But again, it's such a simplistic philosophy for these people who were so incredibly sophisticated and intelligent. No, the bad God was the God inside, was the ego, because the war was going on inside every person. So yes, there was a bad God and a good God, but the bad God was the ego. The good God was the conscience, the heart, what the heart was telling you. Really, with Fin'Amor, you have the ideas of Cathars, and it's hidden in plain sight. I mean, there are certain scholars who go through every single line of a troubadour poem. You're not going to find it like that. You're going to find the whole thing in the concept of Fin'Amor. You don't need anything else. Hey, it's right there in the song. The whole concept is transcendence. That's what Fin'Amor is about. Transcendence through love. Transcendence through the power of love. Through the power of love, we can change ourselves and we can change the world.